I was really in a desperate situation. When you get close to death, when I was there, I got out of my car. I got into somebody else's car. I was taken to a building where there was just no windows and there was bars on the doors in the front and the back. I was placed into sexual trafficking, forced drug addiction while I was there. Really sick. Lord, save me. And he did. I had a difficult childhood. My mother and father were married, but we had a lot of problems because my father was an alcoholic. Unfortunately, he chose alcohol over being a father. So my mom left my dad. I was raised with a single mother and a younger brother. He's 3 years younger than me. Fast forward a little bit, in my teenage years, I became rebellious, and my mother decided to send me to go live with my aunt and uncle in Dallas, Texas. My mom thought it would be good for me to go live with my uncle for a short while. Because my aunt and uncle, they're married, and my mom was like, maybe she can see what a normal marriage looks like for a little while, for the summer. Well, when I went to go see my aunt and uncle for a short while, I ended up staying there. And my mom's side of that, which I learned years later, is the Lord told my mom to leave me there. So my mom wanted to come get me, but she even drove to come get me numerous times, and the Lord told her no. And so I stayed there, and I lived with them. My aunt and uncle raised me from ages 13 to 18, and then I went to college. I lived on campus. They did not believe in Jesus. They didn't believe in the Bible. They said they were agnostic. But I had heard about Jesus when I was younger, with my mom taking me to Vacation Bible School. About 8, 9, 10 years old, them doing an altar call or just really talking about Jesus and not really understanding, but I want Jesus. I want whatever they're talking about. And I remember that in my heart. The pastor,
if you want to receive Jesus into your heart, come forward.
I remember that as a young girl and doing that. I believe that the Lord honored that. I went to high school, I made good grades, and I went to Texas Women's University. I went to Texas Women's for 3 years. During that time, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. They did treatments on me, they did surgery on me. They removed half of my cervix. My uncle was taking Adderall, and so they put me on Adderall during my high school and in college. And so it was easy for me to drug seek. When I did the treatment, the cancer treatment, I became depressed. I started the drug seek more than just Adderall. It really opened a door for drug-seeking behaviors. And so when I went to college and I was on my own, that behavior was exacerbated. I needed something more to numb the pain and help me. I wanted to do something more. I started smoking marijuana and with my roommate, and my roommate told me, she was like, I know where to get some pills from. She drove me to downtown Dallas over by Grand Avenue and were able to get pills. And then, of course, about a week later, I wanted some more and I knew where to go. So I went by myself in my car. When I was there, I got out of my car and I got into somebody else's car. To be honest, I was really high. I was really messed up. I don't think they even gave me anything. I think I was just really, really messed up on my own. I'd taken enough pills. And I was an easy target. I was taken to a building where there was just no windows and there was bars on the doors in the front and the back. Yeah, I realized I wasn't leaving about that day, next day, when the girls were talking to me. And I realized I wasn't gonna go anywhere, learning what all that was about. It was a small room where all the girls slept. It had beds that lined all the walls, little small dorm-like beds. And there was a kitchen, and then the mama's quarters, and of course, the rooms where things happened. And there was about between 5 to 8 girls those 2.5 years I was there. We weren't allowed to leave those rooms. And they gave us drugs, they gave us pills, and I was one of the oldest girls there. I was 22 at the time. I was placed into sexual trafficking. When I was there, they branded me a couple months in that I was there, and it's NUP, it's who they are, that's their organization. And all the girls have the same tattoo on their wrist to show that they belonged to them. I lived there for 2.5 years, and I didn't leave. I had a forced drug addiction while I was there. I started to get really, really, really ill. I was really, really sick. I was very, very thin. I was probably like 100 pounds, maybe 90 pounds, I don't know. But I was dealing with some serious kidney infections and bladder infections, and I wasn't going to the hospital. They gave, I was giving some antibiotics, but I couldn't even lay on my bed because my kidneys hurt so bad. I was in so much pain all the time. And I don't know if it was from all of the drugs, and my kidneys were shutting down because I was so sick, because of trauma. But I started to pray. And I remember this because I had made a cross and I was holding it in my hand, and I got in trouble for clinging to it. They call me crazy. I guess where the Lord was in all of that was at the end of the 2.5 years, where I started to build trust with the Korean mama, and she started letting me leave, like to go out to get money, because she trusted me to come back. The mama had a Bible. I don't think she believed, but she did. And I was praying, and I prayed the Psalms 141. But I had never picked it up. That's the thing, I hadn't picked it up until I felt like I was gonna die. When you get close to death, I was really in a desperate situation and praying, you know, desperately, Lord, help me, Lord, save me. I can't do this any longer. And that's where I was at the compound. I was praying. I had the cross and I was holding it. I'm really sick. I'm hurting really bad. I don't want to be here anymore. Please help me, save me. And he did. And I was able to run away. The mama let me leave to go on a date. When I left and I met that person there, I told him, I was just really honest with what I was going through. I said, I'm really, really, really sick right now. And I'm really in a lot of pain. I need help. He said, you can come with me. I said, okay. And we got in his truck and we left. And he took me to his house. And I hid in his house for 2 years. He was a directional drilling engineer. So he's older. He was like in his 60s. And he was gone for a month on the oil rigs or wherever, Oklahoma or South Texas, wherever his work called him. And he would leave me there at the house and he'd be back, you know, for a week and then he'd leave again. And that was his life. That was my life. I just stayed there and, you know, lived and chased drugs. Because I had this drug addiction, it just progressively got worse. And my head was real traumatized and I started to drug seek more. And the place where I was at, I became homeless. I remember one night being outside and looking at the sky and yelling at God, going, if you're real, show me please. Tell me that you're real and because I really need some help.
You have the right to remain silent.
So the next day I was surrounded by the police and they told me I was gonna go to prison. And when they locked me up in county before they transported me to prison, I was laying in bed in a tear and I was just, my mind was racing and racing and I was like, I can't believe I'm here. And I'm 30 in prison, going to prison. At the end of that 6 years, I started to pray because I think I really started to come to the end of myself. Jesus came. It's like he was standing right here by me. And he said my name audibly. He said, Melody. And in my spirit, he said, wake up. I started praying in prison and praying prayers of desperation. Lord, help me. Please help me. I don't even know where I'm gonna go when I leave here. I don't have a home. I'm gonna be on parole and they're gonna put me right back because I don't have anywhere to go. So I got out of prison and I met a man in my parole office. And he let me stay with him and my aunt came back into my life and she bought me a house, which was a really big blessing. I ended up having a baby and I lost that baby at 14 weeks. And the doctors they said I had cervical incompetency because of the surgery when I was 22. So I got pregnant again. They did a cerclage on me, and that cerclage failed, and I lost a baby at 23 weeks. It was a big baby. So I waited a year, and I got pregnant again. I had got a cerclage, and I was able to have Aiden, my son. He was a full-term, perfect baby. With that marriage, he had traded his pill addiction in before he went to prison for a alcohol addiction. And it had gotten really, really, really out of hand. After I had Aiden, the Lord had been calling me to get baptized. I still hadn't been baptized as an adult. And mind you, I'm doing this all on my own. I don't have anybody telling me the word. I don't have anybody around me who's a Christian at all. The Lord it was in my spirit. Now I know it was conviction and calling me, go to that church, okay? So I went to that church and they were doing baptisms. I knew I needed to do the baptism. And when I went to go get baptized, I was ready. I was ready for the Lord to do something in my life. Because everything else that I've been doing in my life has not been working. And I had this baby, and I just knew that he couldn't be raised to look like my ex-husband. So I needed some real help. Before I got in the water, I said, Lord, please make me prosperous for you. Please help me. I'll give my life to you. The things that preceded thereafter of my life, I needed to put on a safety belt because things got pretty real. I found out my husband had been cheating on me, and the Lord had released me from that marriage. When I went to the final divorce, the judge had given me sole custody, told me I could leave the state. My plan was to go. The Lord had been calling me back to Texas, so I went back to Texas Women's University here in Denton to finish my degree. He sent me to this church. It's here in the local area. It's real Calvinistic. I was sort of disappointed. I was like, Lord, why am I here? He said, I'm preparing you for something. The Lord also was telling me during that time that I was going to go back into the jails to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. Okay, so the Lord had been calling me into the prison ministry, so I was talking to everybody about how can I get in the prison ministry? Well, I went to that church and they were like, well, you're a felon, you can't get into the prisons. I was like, well, that's not right. The Lord told me I'm gonna be in the prisons. So I met this wonderful woman named Linda Otwell, and she was my mentor at the time, and she said, Melody, you should go to the Freedom House and talk to and mentor the women. And I started volunteering in the women's home at the Freedom House. The Lord and a girl in the Freedom House was like, if you've been trafficked or if you've been part of a gang, there's a dermatologist in Dallas, Dr. Polder, who will remove your tattoos for free. So I called Dr. Polder and I went in for a consultation and I told her my story, and she removed my tattoos for free. couple months later, I had my husband now, my current husband, he was working on staff at the Freedom House. And we met each other at Freedom House graduation. The Lord had told me, he said, it can't be right, I just got out of a divorce. We've been inseparable ever since. We got married shortly thereafter. And the Lord brought us to a ministry together. It's called Hope in Christ. And we now do full-time ministry as house parents. We bring in boys from the Texas juvenile justice system, and we just teach them about the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we just do life together. And I am finishing my degree in a month. I am currently doing my my internship at Our Daily Bread as a social work intern. We just hired an attorney to have my husband adopt Aiden. And we had just found out that I am pregnant as well. And the reason I'm telling you this is because about a month and a half ago, we were praying, we want a child together. And the Lord convicted me very heavily. He said, Melody, I want you to trust me with this pregnancy. And in my mind, I have all these logic and reasoning of losing children, losing babies, and think of, heavily weigh on my logic. And as the Lord said, no, I want you to trust me with this pregnancy. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I said, okay, Lord. I trust you. I say that because they're sending me to a high-risk doctor, and they told me, Melody, you're going to need to get on hormones with this pregnancy, and we're going to need to do a cerclage real early. And I said, no, that's not what we're going to do. The Lord is going to give me a full-term, perfect, alive baby. For a young girl, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. You don't know where when you go and get them from another person. You don't, especially here in Texas, you don't know who that person knows. You don't know what that person has. You don't know what they have. You might be going there for marijuana, but they have methamphetamine, they have pills, they have heroin, they have all these things on you that just opens the door immediately. You don't know what can happen and who that person knows. Just don't do them. As a young girl, you are a easy sheep for wolves. If they're looking to do anything or hurt you. And they will. You're watching this and you're a young girl or a parent of a young girl. It can happen to anybody. It can happen to me. And just stay, and especially when that girl goes to college, stay in that girl's life. Just checking in and, hey, how are you doing? I'm here. Are you okay? How are you feeling? The Lord has restored what the locust has eaten, and He has made me whole and new.